So Ren is a fantasy series, and in all, you don't really see that many scripts, do you, of that genre? Like when you're auditioning and things, there really aren't that many fantasy scripts that come through.
I'm clearly a frustrated big budget filmmaker, aren't I?
I really learned so much about what can be done with actually not that much money.
It was a bit daunting, to be honest.
Everyone else around was sort of going, this isn't going to work, this isn't going to work.
Every single rule for independent filmmaking is being broken here. We have animals, explosions, costumes, children, and we have a medieval set.
You know, when you look back, you're like, how? How is that even possible?
Well, the project had been going on for a bit, I suppose.
For a while.
Yeah, because you had sort of the initial idea of this girl with a mark, and what if the mark wasn't like perceived as a cool thing, as it normally is, but what if it
wasn't
actually,
if it wasn't the norm?
Yeah, if it wasn't the norm, and that was kind of the idea that grabbed both of us really. So started writing a little bit, talking about it. So that had been going on for a while, and I suppose we did the Kickstarter.
Ren is the first major production I've spearheaded since I produced and directed Born of Hope, my Lord of the Rings prequel, which has now been viewed over 20 million times online.
We will quite literally be kickstarting the project. Woo! We've done it! We've hit our target! The Kickstarter has reached £35,000.
We'd done the Kickstarter, we had scouted some potential locations. It was getting on for £2,000 a day to film at Cosmoston.
And then she began talking about, ooh,
I was looking at budget.
What if we had this big studio space?
Michelle, out walking her dog, got chatting with people, as you do, because you try any way you can, going, anyone know a place that's sitting empty? And someone knew someone, I think, who knew Bill, who had Caxton. I thought, oh, I don't know, it sounds quite big.
And it was.
But we went and had a look. And I fell in love with it a little bit, because I was like, this is kind of perfect. This could become our studio.
When we visited it for the first time, and literally my jaw had dropped because it was so much bigger than in my wildest dreams I'd ever imagined. I was like, oh my God, we could do everything in this way. And we were going like, we could build sets here, and do we even need the outside? It was just all exciting.
They've had it on their own for so many years. What's happening?
Pretty much, even though we'd been doing it in theory for like over 6 months, actually, this was kind of the start of pre-production.
The first free cycle stuff.
Things sort of happened in our minds before Caxton. Everything was there.
It was there, it was sort of thing, but as soon as suddenly we had a space, you basically moved, I mean, like us, you basically moved in permanently, were coming in every day.
Yeah.
And it just came together. Suddenly there was walls you could put stuff on.
Definitely.
It's like, there's the mood board, there's this, hang up all the costumes that we already have.
It was a bit daunting, to be honest. I think on the second day or the third day, I went out into the car park, and that's when it kind of struck me like, right, we're going to turn this tarmac into a medieval-looking village. Kate and me found some pallets and started to sort of going, well, okay, there could be a house there, so we put up some pallets as corners.
And I was doing my usual, make it a bit bigger, a bit bigger, because we just needed sort of depth and things,
that was good,
you know.
And then obviously you start going, oh, that's quite a lot. It's quite a lot to build.
There'd be a post out on Facebook, making weekend
Yeah.
at Caxton, whether you can sew, cook, clean, paint, build,
Anything. Yeah.
anything, literally anything, and want to be involved because people really were keen to
Yeah.
come along.
It was just to turn up and see a little bit.
Yeah, but it was so
We didn't know how many
tentative,
people were
wasn't
coming,
it?
yeah.
I know, the first weekend when we thought either loads of people would come or no one, and it
Yeah.
would still just be us.
When did you turn up the first time? Was that the second weekend?
I think it
or-
was the second or third week in July, because
Right,
although
yeah,
I was interested in the Kickstarter, I hadn't realised that you were actually going to pitch up, within driving distance of myself.
Yeah.
And that's when it's like, I've got some tools, I can do a bit of woodwork, so I'll come over and see what's involved. And I sort of expected a weekend of work.
Little did he know.
So I think we put up a second house then, and I then came another 43 times, I think,
Yeah.
approximately,
Approximately.
To help with the build, yeah.
Didn't we find that as soon as someone, if we could get them to Caxton
Yeah.
for even an hour or so,
They never wanted to leave.
they would probably stay.
Yeah, it's true, and come back, it's true.
Yeah, because it was such a, I think it was just that creative kind of hub
I know.
about it.
Everyone was just like, I'll do that, I'll do this, we're going to do that, which was amazing.
The problem is that we don't know.
I became involved in Wren because of Kate and Chris. They are very inspiring people, and they have a very loyal following, people who genuinely believe in what they do. And it just speaks volumes, when I started looking at Born of Hope and seeing what they could achieve, and I was like, wow, these people are something.
That's really a sort of humbling experience, that people see something that you have created and you go, well, this is what we're doing, and people just pick up on it and go, wow, yeah, I want to be part of that. Yeah.
I still, for the life of me, don't know or want to ask or even want to know why they chose me, probably because it seemed a little loopy. So many people came and people would say, I've got very limited experience, or I haven't even done this before, and just thrust them a needle and thread. And I think a lot of people discovered things about themselves and tried new things.
Oh yeah.
So this is the first time that I've been involved in building sets, and so it was learning right from day one.
Yeah, because, I mean, for me, I'd never built a set before. So I guess a lot of it was down to acting skills, to pretend. Very early on, we had the downpour of rain, where the set was in this much water, and at that point, I just thought, everything's going to soak up all the water.
I actually assumed it was going to just expand and pop.
And it didn't.
Yeah, that's good.
All of the costumes, I would say, evolved, didn't they, quite a lot as they were being made?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, everything went on a big arc.
Yeah,
We went back to original ideas, scrapped ideas.
yeah.
That was the joy of Caxton, though, the constant conversation, that I could just nip next door, not schedule in a Skype meeting. It was there, and we could make decisions really quickly.
Yeah.
And things just got done.
So any days that Kay could come in, she could get to work.
Yeah.
Procurement is what I would say was mostly what I was doing. I was trying to get a list of extras together. I was trying to get volunteers to come and build set and make props together. So I was networking like crazy. And then wood, trying to get wood. Every time I had tons of feelers out amongst my friends about, if you see any piles of wood or any demolition sites, let me know. And they were.
We were also still doing a lot of developing of the script, I remember.
We had lots of meetings about that.
We were sort of still tweaking and churning and trying and changing.
So at some point, a long time ago, I remember Kate talking about Ren and telling me what the idea was. I mean, when I first read the script that you sent me, my first thought was, every single rule for independent filmmaking is being broken here. We have animals, multi-animals. We have explosions. We have costumes. We have children. And we have a medieval set. And also extras, you know.
Yeah.
60 extras, huge village scenes. And,
I'm clearly a frustrated big budget filmmaker, aren't I?
What a cool thing to be involved in, you know, and what a good challenge.
For me, it's the camaraderie. I think it's the teamwork. It's helping people produce something. In particular, helping other people with their creative vision, bringing their creative vision out, because it's not something I've got much of myself. So it's sort of about helping other people achieve theirs.
In all, you don't really see that many scripts, do you, of that genre? Like when you're auditioning and things, there really aren't that many fantasy scripts that come through. So I think the Ren one really just caught.
I think for me
it was just something different. It was just
the script, yes. The idea to play somewhat of a roguish scallywag who gets to run around with swords kind of appeals, you know. Oh, you're gonna embody this guy. I'm like, yeah, cool. I can do that.
be the annoying rogue.
Exactly.
I mean, these characters, we talked about them so much, and their stories and what it all meant and where they came from and stuff. Everything had a meaning. There were lots of detail. There was lots of detail in each of the costumes and running themes. We had the constant discussion, even with some of the actors, about their costumes and why it would be like that and who they were.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, Dagron changed overnight. The initial costume was very much dictated by the fact that he had a limp, he'd had an injury, an old injury. It centred around the fact that he wouldn't want to, he was still very much a proud man, and he wouldn't want it to be on show, so he'd be covered up. It just didn't fit.
Didn't work.
It just didn't work, and it wasn't, and we all felt it. I literally younguned it up.
Yeah.
With help my mum. Thanks, Mum.
So you want a dagger?
No, I'll sacrifice a dagger for Legolas.
Duran was vocal about his costume as well, and I really liked that because they were becoming the character. They were thinking like the character, and they
Can I move in this? Can I do that?
Exactly.
How would I mean, yeah, Duran dictated a bit. We were discussing like where his sort of knives and stuff were, or knife, because he liked the idea that he could be sort of standing sort of as if he's cool as cucumber, but actually his hand would be ready to grab the knife.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really great atmosphere. Those making weekends, especially when everyone turned up.
Yeah, the atmosphere.
And there was lots of people around. But actually, I remember the very first day that Duran came up, we had decided to have a barbecue. And I think he turned up and started turning sausages.
Yeah.
That was his
day. That was his day.
It was like,
initiation.
well, you've only just turned up and you're already cooking food. It's like, okay, he gets it. He got it. Yeah.
You're involved. That's how it was. There was so much to do. It was everything from scratch, wasn't it? Really?
It was surprising, like considering it felt like we would have a long time.
Yeah.
Like coming in at July and starting in September. But it wasn't. That's just no time at all, actually.
We started later than we were supposed to, didn't we? I'm sure we were supposed to start early September and we didn't start until late September.
Originally, weren't we supposed to shoot in June?
Yeah, we were. It was supposed to be summer.
I kept seeing like the date for when we started filming getting pushed back and back and back, and like Kate getting more and more nervous and aggravated. So I was aware of it and I was a little bit kind of starting to get nervous.
I got to a point where I wasn't quite sure how we were going to finish. I mean, as you saw the shoot date looming and everyone else is starting to turn up and cameras are starting to appear and lights and things, you go, but it's not finished. How are we going to fit all this in? I work during the week, I can't, and so at times I felt quite guilty going home on a Sunday night, relaxing in my bath and leaving you to it.
I don't think I was ever in doubt that it was going to be ready for filming. It was just, how much detail can we put in it?
The way that Amanda Steckley came on board was, I had worked with her as a set designer on a theatre piece and asked her if she might be interested in stopping around in the hope.
She asked if I'd come along and do a day or two.
Amazing how so many stories start out.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah.
Could you just come along and just see what you think? And I sort of came along and then I just, And it just felt instantly engaging. It was a place where I felt instantly I wanted to get my hands really dirty immediately and get on with it.
For the budget, it was amazing. It was an entire studio.
It was an entire studio, entire set. It was a village. It was amazing. And people built it with their own hands. I don't know, it's just blood and sweat went into it. I was well impressed.
I remember the first time I came back and saw the set in its entirety, and I was like,
It did look really, really cool.
Expleted. I was impressed. I was like, wow, okay, this is going to be cool.
You could do a nice reveal.
I think it's great. Love it. Awesome. I just need to shoot it right now.
So we kind of had a bit of a panic attack, I think, a couple of days before we shoot, or the day before, I can't remember. I think you discovered me with Chris going, oh God. Because
it was a couple of days before.
Yeah, because I suddenly had a worry that after all of the work that had happened and the months of sort of planning and the years in a way of sort of planning, what if this looks shit? If I can say that. I really thought, how do I not make this look rubbish? My aim is always that professional, like, no, it's got to look like it's from telly. It's got to look just like you'd watch it on telly.
I looked at the village, the square, and it looked awesome. And then my next thought was, what if no one turns up on the first weekend? What if there's 5 extras in this quite big square where we're going to have this bustling market, everything going on? And I just went, oh my God, all this could have been for nothing.
For me, the first day of shooting was slightly an anticlimax for me because it was the first day of shooting. I'm not sure how it happened, but I know it was Duran, it was Hunter and soldiers fighting.
We were like, oh no, it'll be relatively easy just to concentrate on fights, get Ronan, Duran, and some fighters, and we'll just do fights. We were trying to sort of do it in a bit of set that didn't work because it was like we needed a sort of alleyway really and we didn't have one. So it was like, okay, put this fence here and just don't shoot that direction.
Yeah.
It was kind of slow going. It was like, well, as in we were just rehearsing. We hadn't started shooting anything because Duran wasn't completely happy with his hair. It wasn't feeling right. He wasn't feeling right as the character at this point.
Let's clear this up right now. So because of the timescale and obviously the nature of the way we're working, and everyone has different commitments and stuff like that, we didn't have any previous makeup test or costume test or anything. So my first day on set literally was freeballing to figure out, you know, how Hunter's hair is, all the rest of it. It wasn't preset, so it had to all be decided then. So obviously it took time. And
then the fighting, I was well aware that, you know, we'd had probably insufficient time to prepare that.
There were no rehearsals beforehand, learning the choreography.
Well, we did some bits and pieces, and we did spend some time, but then certain props broke, and you know, certain things just didn't work on camera position wise, etc., etc. So everything was somewhat free flowing.
In terms of prep, it was mainly the forest fight. I think all the stuff that happens in the village was pretty much on location, maybe a couple of hours before for some of the fights. Some of it was just, right, we need to just put something together quickly. We did some training with some of the actors on location, so I think we had, you know, like, not loads because they were quite busy, but we had like 3 or 4 hours of just going through some basic sword stuff. I mean, people picked it up really well. I mean, Duran's done some stuff before during his training, so he was like picking it up and having great fun swinging axes and around and stuff. So.
Action! So we took a long time to get all of that sorted, and then, so we only actually started shooting in the afternoon, I remember that.
Hey! Watch out! Take him down! You! Go around there!
A lot of us had worked before, so worked with Richard Roberts on First Musketeer and Chronicles Syntax, worked with a couple other people. There's a few other people off First Musketeer on there. There's probably about 4 people from, well, we worked on Chronicles together, but there's about 4 people from that. So it was a nice kind of get, although Ren in itself was a family, it was our little mini family kind of extended now.
I'd worked with Kate for about 8 months on Born of Hope back in 2008, 2009.
I did like 3 days on Born of Hope. But we worked together on The First Musketeer.
We did, yes.
Which was another sort of period action web series. Like, I had so much fun on it, so I thought, yes, I want to do another web series. And I had a trip to the States booked, which clashed with the first 3 days. And that's how you ended up being the DP for the first 3 days.
Yeah, that was an interesting experience because all those 3 days had completely different weathers.
Damn you!
And then this immigrant arrived from America and stole my job.
Yeah.
I believe one of the first things I said to you as you got out of the car was, right, it's all yours now. Good luck.
The mark was obviously, it was incredibly key to the entire production because it's all about a girl who gets a mark.
Hashtag the marked one.
The marked one. A long time ago, we started getting some concept art in, and you know, even then was like, oh, I don't know. We knew various things. It wanted to be organic. It wanted to feel like it was coming from within. It wanted to didn't want to look like it was a scar or anything too disfiguring. So we were trying to get that concepted so early, and never really got there. You know, suddenly we were in Caxton and we're still trying to figure out this freaking mark.
Yeah, there were lots of ideas floating around, and then we kind of tried it many different times with different colours and different makeups.
And at the start, we didn't have very many people at all, and we were struggling to get sort of makeup artists. We never had like a head makeup person.
So Michelle got in contact with my tutor at college and asking me whether I was free, whether I'd be interested in coming along and joining the team.
There was no sort of coherence until Becca came and she became head makeup artist, and it was amazing having someone who knew what she was doing sort of every day.
It took me back a little bit. I was a bit like, whoa, like I'm not really too sure what I'm meant to be doing, like just because I had not really much knowledge about being on set.
What a way to learn, though.
But yeah, being thrown in, it was good.
What? Giving away the secret.
The mark was never really decided until the day of shooting, really.
Right, so...
yeah, there were lots of ideas floating around.
It was the whole point, wasn't it, of the show? Yeah.
At the beginning I was like, I can't do this. I can't, all on my own now, I can't do this. But after,
you may have thought that though, but it, like you freaking did it, man. Seriously.
I remember there was a first AD that we had who kept coming in and sort of saying, okay, we need everyone on set in 10 minutes. Sort of saying to makeup, how long will makeup be? Makeup would say half an hour, and he'd sort of say, well, you've got 5 minutes, but then it would actually take an hour, and we were always late onto set.
But things like that with the mark, like you could only go as fast as you could go because rushing it meant you would inevitably do it wrong. And every dot would dictate the next dot. And so it had to be like, didn't it? I remember sometimes you'd be like, I've just got to put my music on and we're just going to take it slow. Okay, like...
She'll be down.
Yeah.
When she's down.
When she's down and it'll be fine. Okay.
She's got the mark! She's got the mark!
Michelle worked like a demon to get so many people in. I mean, she was incredible, really, and the amount of people that did come was sometimes overwhelming. Traditionally, I would wake up at about 4 or 5. I'd drive, get my Costa on the way, standard. And very necessary, because then it would be from the moment I got there, people would be arriving, and that was it, straight into costume, working it out, and it was a lot of playing it by ear. Some of the people, like we said, had fittings, but a lot hadn't, so it was just literally fitting costumes to all shapes and sizes and ages on the spot, and getting the look. It had to be coherent.
When you get there at like 7 o'clock, 7:30 in the morning, until about 10 o'clock in the morning, all you're doing is just running backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, like putting people's clothes on for them and, you know, lacing people up into things and velcroing things on, and you just don't stop because there's always someone somewhere on the mezzanine who's in distress. And I just would hear the siren call, "Cat!" But oh God, who needs me now?
There's a bit of pressure as well, especially with the extras, like, okay, what size are you? Okay, what hasn't been worn before? Okay, what hasn't been worn before in that combination? And just trying to sort of use all the bits left that we had to sort of dress these extras.
I got involved in that when there were big crowd scenes. I'd help with the wardrobe.
Yeah.
I would dress a few, choose their costumes, did a bit of makeup on some of them.
My typical day on set, oh my gosh, getting in at 8.
We would move on to the set and start dressing it.
Then usually repairing the floor, because that was a bit of a constant in the market square. Putting down more straw, putting down more earth to make it look sort of repaired.
I think my main task was the bread stove.
Oh, the bread.
That was my main task, the bread stove.
We're having a reunion, Born of Hope reunion.
All right.
This is Pretzel Man.
Pretzel Man. Chris and Kate, I think I signed a contract in blood that basically they say they own my soul. So anything that comes up, they just they let me out, so I can just help out and stuff like that. So that's basically it.
Did we have about 10 different stalls
in
the market? Yeah.
And they sold different ones, also spread out to the market, try to make it, just.
And then there was sort of continuity shots for each one of them, and then each morning it'd have to go out and go, right, okay, all of these breads were like stacked up.
Yeah.
And,
the cheeses as well, the cheese on the other side.
The cheese shop, and all the fabrics, and Amanda had a lot of problems with the vegetable store because
we had to
they
cover
kept
it.
dying.
Yeah, as they do.
This was my bedroom in Rennes for about 8 weeks.
Yeah, yes it was.
My little donkey.
Yeah.
I'd wake up in my van.
Because I'd be...
Yeah, he'd be banging on the side of it because he'd be up and ready for the last hour. I'd get up maybe 15 minutes later and blearily move out to the set where Neil had almost finished putting up the lights anyway.
It was literally play it by ear as well, wasn't it? It was like, right, we need Ren now. Right, okay.
Quick.
Quick. Oh my God. Because everything changed so quickly, like on an hourly basis.
Yeah. No, every day was different.
We became quite, mega close-knit actually, didn't we? Because while everyone else was on set or going to and from set and stuff, it was us up in that room trying to get a squillion people ready, as well as the main actors and stuff. I don't know, it just became like blood, man.
Like blood, man.
Yeah.
I always just think of Miriam. I think Miriam sums up Ren for me. Because she was everywhere. She was amazing, wasn't she? She was sort of everybody's set mum as well, wasn't she?
She was,
She had
indeed.
a problem, you go to Miriam, and yeah, she's great.
The actors would sort of slowly filter in. So it's like, oh, we've got Dagron coming in sort of 20 minutes. Can you get his costume ready? We've got some more extras. Oh, these extras are going. Can you get him out of costume?
That will all be happening while I'm off with Neil and that on set looking at where we're going to shoot, what are we shooting, like, blah, blah, and then it would just be like, oh, extras are ready for a lineup, okay, let's have a look at them all, okay, oh, a bit dirty, a bit, okay, and, back to you, and then sort of tag teaming each other, I suppose.
So Kate would turn up and then start talking to Neil, and then costume, extras and all that, and then we would sort of get into the flow of the day, really.
Ren very angry, and
That first weekend was a bit of magic, because all of a sudden you had people walking around, being these villagers.
But the other thing that was really good was listening to some of the actors when they came on the set and they went, wow. Some of them said, wow.
Mm.
So for most stuff, we'd just walk through the fights, look at what the transition was. So even when we're in the village, it's constantly being moved around to create different sets. So discovering kind of what the path of our fight could be, and then working out potentially who was going to fight our heroes or our main villains, because again, technically from day to day, we didn't always know who was going to be available to work in terms of lots of the supporting cast and all the kind of soldiers, and didn't know who they were going to be. So we had to kind of often do a quick audition with them on the morning and then shoot with those that kind of fitted certain bits in the afternoon. So it was a little bit manic from that perspective, but it was okay. I think it's pretty decent.
Thank you, Ryan.
So then we'd shoot for 4 or 5 hours, we'd have some sort of lunch, and then we'd shoot for maybe another 3 or 4 hours until we really ran out of light. Because we'd both be saying, yeah, we've kind of lost light, and Kate would be saying, no, we could go on for another half an hour.
You get to the end of the day and there'd just be a pile of extras clothing on the floor, and you know that they're outfits and they all go together, and you don't know which parts go with which outfits, and it's just like, why?
We'd often get to the end of the day and go, we actually need people again tomorrow, you know?
Yeah,
like, we'd be like, what?
exactly.
You know.
I've got 29 extras tomorrow. I was like, what? They don't want extra.
Behind the scenes, I was also constantly on the phone or on email dealing with so-and-so who had said that they would come in and help with the set and now couldn't, or, you know, was it all right if they arrived at X time and could they be picked up from the train station? And so, you know, I was aware that the plates were spinning and that it would be very easy for the plates to stop spinning.
Well, it was a 4-week schedule originally. It was like 3 weeks.
Really?
It was meant to be 3 weeks, 2 weeks off, and then 1 more week.
Really?
And it turned into 7 weeks straight.
What idiot came up with that?
Well, Kate.
Sorry, Kate. Love you. How long did we actually spend shooting? It was about 8 or 9 weeks.
It was 7 weeks, I think, 7 and a bit.
Scheduling is a nightmare for this kind of thing because you're not paying the actors. If they had professional paid jobs that came up, we had said from the first that those could trump us. And that just turned into a scheduling nightmare.
It was shot so bitterly, in a sense, because whenever we had the right people, we were like, right, now we have to do your reaction to the thing that we did last night with that person.
Yes, my first day was without Bainin, and I hadn't even met him yet, so I didn't know what he was going to be like, how he was going to act it, how tall he was, anything.
On my second day, because it was only close-ups of me, so there weren't any people there, so I was just talking to an empty space. It felt kind of weird, but I just sort of had to imagine them all there.
That's acting, that.
Yeah.
Stop! Wait!
What are you doing? Get down.
No! You've all gone mad! Look what they're doing to Ren!
So we would do like, okay, this weekend we're doing all the crowd shots, and then we've got to finish Dagron. We've only got Nick for this day, so we'll do all his reactions with like 2 extras in the foreground, and then we'll do all Ren stuff. And there were days of just doing Ren on the platform tied up because things kept going wrong, like wind and rain and God knows what.
So yeah, I got to don the Master's costume. I think I had to come up to set 4 times to shoot 10 seconds of footage. Not that I had any lines to get right. So.
You said you'd get the spirit out. The spirit will be released when it no longer has a host.
We got off, to be perfectly honest, we got off to a little bit of a shaky start. on production. But it became very clear after the second weekend that we weren't getting enough footage.
Rain has halted play, which is really annoying because we have a lot to do.
I remember rain.
Rain, lots of rain.
Oh yeah, rain stopped play on a number of
Yeah.
occasions, I remember.
A lot of the times we had to throw tarpaulin over all of the set just to keep it dry, and then as soon as the rain stopped we'd go, oh, the rain stopped, oh, run outside, go and take all the tarpaulin off, set up the cameras really quickly just to film a little bit, and then it started raining 5 seconds later, we'd have to take it all down again.
There were rain delays and windy days and various other things, so...
And I think it was after one of those big delays that we had a kind of crisis point that we reached where Chris and I, after a day's shooting, while we were doing the dishes in the kitchen, both expressed to each other that we thought we were so far off schedule that we were going to have to do something about it.
I must admit, I did suggest that we should concentrate on the first 3 episodes, just make sure that we had all the footage to make the first 3 episodes, so that if we didn't manage to get all of the stuff for the last 2 episodes, we would at least be able to put out 3 episodes and say, okay, this is, you know, what we did. It would be to a great quality, and people would see what, you know, what would lead into it.
Yeah, it was a low point. We had then a meeting where you put your foot down and said, nope.
I think actually what I did was bawl my eyes out.
Yeah, which I felt
at
terrible.
the table.
I felt terrible.
Yeah, it was quite a bad time really, because everybody was sort of feeling, we felt that we were doing really good work, and we were getting some really good shots in the camera.
Shots were great, you know, everything was going, you know, in terms of people were great, shots were great, sets was the sets were great, everything was going well, but I think it was the time in shooting everything.
Yeah.
The setup sometimes took long, and we were trying to get those right, and it was just time.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Basically time.
Yeah.
Compromise just isn't the right word for me. 'Cause
Maybe.
One of the things I really admire about you is that you don't compromise.
No, I hate compromise. I absolutely hate compromise because I find it. I think of compromise as of no benefit to any person. If 2 people are trying to compromise, then neither of them is going to be happy because they're both not getting what they want. So, when the schedule was slipping, and like everyone else around was sort of going, this isn't going to work, this isn't going to work. And I remember feeling really gutted because I felt like no one believed in it. It won't work. We have to get to the point we need to get to. Otherwise, why are we bothering?
Personally, I think it's a Kate thing. I just think Kate's written it, she'll get it done. I don't really have any doubt that somehow
it'll get done, or we'll get to if there is a problem, they'll just resolve it, they'll fix it, they'll adapt it, but somehow this project will just get done.
We spent a lot of the day writing our epic shot list for the whole end action sequence of the show. Basically, episode 4 and 5 have a huge amount of action in them and need a huge amount of shots.
It was like, okay, we have to, if we don't get everything we need this weekend, then we're probably going to get told we have to not shoot episodes 4 and 5 anymore.
Yeah, because the budget wouldn't have stretched to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I may have been playing Skyrim a lot, but I do remember that.
Yeah. Fingers crossed, don't want to curse it. It's all going to plan so far, so it's like 20 past 10 in the morning and we've already done 3 really great shots.
No, Ben! Why won't you help her? We've got various things still to do. It's like 3:15, but it's going really well. So.
And we did get through it. We did get all the shots on the schedule that weekend. And I think that was...
By the skin of our teeth.
Yeah. But that sort of put an end to the talk of only doing episodes 1 to 3.
We sort of decided to keep going, and then picking up a little bit of the speed, I think, and then eventually realizing, well, we can do this. And I think for me, the concern was that we would start to lose the interest of the people who were working on it.
I'm happy with what we got, and regardless of the schedule slipping, and again, you know, the nature of the project, but the amazing job everyone's done with the amount of funding that's been involved. Thank you, Kickstarter funders.
Yes,
we wouldn't be able to do any of this without you guys. And the whole team stretched the budget.
Luckily, what happened was that when we kept going, these people kept coming back, and they kept at it. Yeah, it's a great testament to it's really sort of the fact that they kept coming in, kind of saved the day, really.
At the end of it, it was the crew. It was the cast and crew. Everyone basically were in it together. And I think that really helped the production.
Bombs, go, 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 come on, go! Okay, cut.
Well, initially I joined up as an extra. I do reenactment in my spare time, and then about midday on the first day, I think I was sewing Knath trousers back together. So
yeah, I don't remember you doing an awful lot of sort of
extraing
very much at all.
I did.
I don't remember you in costume an awful lot.
Oh no,
actually.
I had about 6 different costumes, I think.
Yeah, well, mostly when you were in costume, you were doing something else.
I was doing something else.
Yes.
Just put on a costume
and
then
go
cook
and
some food or something like that.
Exactly, stirring a pot of pasta or painting. Or
The costume room by that point had become the hub, the heart of Caxton, hadn't it?
Yes.
That was where everyone wanted to be.
I think it's because it was the warmest room as well. That may have helped. Everyone. Yeah.
I remember going in there and Steve, the skateboarding Knath Steve, was in there playing his ukulele. And I was just like, this is just the weirdest thing.
No, it was quite interesting the way it sort of transformed from workplace to, the place where people lived. And you go into Kate's office and it'd be Kate's office, and you go back in later and it'd be bedroom.
Morning.
What was quite fun about it is that everyone was there.
So there was always that sort of core group, and then there was kind of sort of ebbs and flows of people. Yeah. Sometimes there would be 20 people to cook for in the evening, and sometimes it would be 5.
But you and I, we were there quite sporadically, weren't we, really? Because I was working, you were working.
Yeah, we were I was very back and forth.
It was a really good atmosphere as well. That you'd done the shoot all day, and you finished, and you
just sit down and relax with everyone.
I'd go to the supermarket and come back with ciders and alcoholic ginger beers and wine and get you drunk.
Yes.
He's a cheap date. He really is.
I did camp it up. Yeah, well, it was quite a long drive from my home, so there was loads of space to pitch a tent indoors on a carpet. We had a little tent city in the reception area of the Caxton Depot.
It was like the boys' camp bit.
Well, yeah, the girls, they decided to be upstairs, so
Stayed with
segregation
Michelle.
and all that kind of stuff.
Went back to Michelle's house. She made me a steak dinner.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's me and my 2-man tent, which I had a blast.
But we had it all because we were upstairs. Everyone else in the vans downstairs on little blow
that's true, yeah.
We had it. We had
shared
the
a bed
heaters.
as well at one point, didn't we? That was Co's Town.
What it basically ended up was a very large nest in the makeup room with everybody all bundled in there. It was very much like a family.
Yeah, like a big...
In good ways and,
Very
just like a
playful.
family, in that it was very, very, very playful.
Very playful, very
moments
caring.
of everyone was very relaxed and very, very caring. But
Yeah.
you'd also get moments of just stop doing that or start doing that.
Yes.
Or, why are you doing that?
Just me and Nick throwing
Okay.
stuff at each other's tents all night, or throwing stuff into each other's tents.
Fair enough.
And just giggling like teenage girls.
My eyeline just dropped. Just put that down.
I went off for, I think it was 2.5 weeks. It was a film that's called The Four Warriors. I wrote the script for it, and the producers sort of said, right, we need to film it, and we need to film it in these 2.5 weeks. And it was right in the middle, middle of Rennes.
During that time, it was sort of, I felt like I was sort of responsible for the set in a way, because it all kind of, I was going to say fell on me, but it was almost quite literally fell on me, actually.
Well, I'm trying to do some filming today, but as you might be able to tell, it's really windy. Earlier, this happened.
Then the typhoon hit, which was the remnants of a hurricane that had spent most of it, they said, had spent most of its force over the Atlantic before it hit us. Let me tell you, there was plenty enough force left to completely ruin the village.
My cape was flying. I was a bit Superman on that day. My cape was flying. A little bit more wind, and I probably would have left the set. And bits of roof were starting to kind of get knocked down.
Okay.
It hadn't quite started raining heavily at that point. It was just dripping. But yeah, Kate kind of went, I think we just should stop and just go back inside for safety.
Oh, puddle. Try to save it. Maybe we'll save it.
I remember the Saturday turning up in my car, and well, it was quite a depressing day actually, because I looked around and there were houses on their front, there was broken spines and roofs that had come off, and so it's the first day is about repairing them, getting them back. In fact, the first few hours are about putting them back up so they can be filmed on.
That wasn't unforeseen. The whole set, or part of the set blowing over, wasn't expected. And having to hold the whole parts of the setup by standing on it
while they're shooting.
Yes, and doing that and leaning, to hold things up.
Well, it was sort of, in a way, a little bit fortunate in the whole disaster. Was that was about the time where we had to, well, you guys, I wasn't there, but you guys had to actually change the set from the market to look more like an alleyway.
I think we were all a bit kind of worried about that. Like, can we really do this without Chris?
Without Chris, I know. Well, we had to. That was the thing, like timing-wise, we actually had to. So we were like, right, let's all just grab a drill. That was, that's basically what happened.
I'm not gonna hurt you.
You just killed all those men. Stay away from me.
Leanna sent me to find you.
Is she all right?
So there's one point where, I won't give anything away, but Hunter's carrying Ren, and on every single take, without fail, Ren's supposed to be passed out, so obviously...
Was it every
not
take?
making any noise,
Are you
and
sure
every take you hit my head.
Every take?
On the set.
Well, in my defence, the only thing I can say, I know Sophie looks very well structured and very well put together, but she's quite heavy, and I'm really not that strong.
It's pure muscle.
Is it? I thought it was lead. Like, she's got like a Wolverine,
In my defence as well.
adamantium.
Yes, I have. Don't mess with me. I remember one time, it was because he'd made a comment like he just did about how heavy I was. So I got, there was a box going around of mini Twixes and mini Cadburys and everything. Do you remember I had them all in? So Ren has a little side bag.
Yeah,
do you remember? I had them all in the pouch. Remember. So every time he made a mean comment about how heavy I was, I ate another chocolate bar just to annoy you.
There were Nerf guns. That's it, really, Nerf guns.
Yeah, there were Nerf guns throughout the production. Nick and Duran mainly starting it off, I think, and it just got more and more as production kind of went on.
I think at our peak we had about 100 Nerf bullets.
most of which are still in that studio.
Yeah, yeah, in the rafters and behind the insulation.
So you'd quite often walk into a room and get a Nerf gun bullet to the
Pretty
face
much,
because
yeah.
there was some battle going on you weren't aware of. Or
Filming's a war zone, and everyone's the enemy.
When we went past the production office, it'd be open the door slowly and shoot Kate in the face and run away! And you'd know sooner or later that she would join in purely out of revenge.
Not just hit him with the gun, Kate. I don't know if it works that way.
You couldn't go out without a gun. I personally had 2, just in case a spontaneous Nerf fight broke out.
Which it did a lot.
Which it did a lot.
Yeah.
That one.
That one until 5 o'clock in the morning with foam, swords and all sorts.
And Nerf guns.
I wouldn't even call it a battle though. In my mind, it was just a slaughter. Everyone got slaughtered.
It was
destroyed
girls versus boys, and it
everybody.
was a battle we actually fought pretty well.
So this is the jaded opinion of
jaded opinion. So here's what happened.
Sophie.
The girls had the tiny Nerf guns, and then this one went out and bought himself a massive new one. So
people scrambling on the floor for the ammunition.
Swapping guns.
Swapping ammunition, trading things, going, I'll give you these. Like, no, I don't want them. Getting hit with a Nerf gun. Oh, it's brilliant.
She's a brave one, this Ren. Now you're in trouble.
That's good. I don't know if I can say, it felt a little bit like holiday camp when I came back. And I think I came back in with kind of sort of an efficient, I need just to get on with things. Yeah. And maybe it sort of jarred a little bit. Yeah. That was when we then had to start looking at the interiors, so building the interior sets. The idea had always been to sort of cannibalise some of the exterior sets and move them inside. So on that Thursday, I kind of started having to think about that. On the Friday, started moving things in, and then we had the Saturday to get things ready, Saturday and Sunday, and then we were ready with the interior, complete interior set, which was Ren's house. Can you get to first positions, please?
The interiors were the heart of the thing to me, and I was really excited by all of the interior sets, but the Ren's house set I thought just came together really beautifully, and the lighting that Neil had done was so beautiful, and that was really exciting to see.
I think everyone really enjoyed that stuff because they were the most character-based scenes, I suppose.
Dad, stop it! What are you doing? Dad, leave him!
It was an interesting opportunity for me to dip your head and face and neck in some very cold water for my own amusement. And it was good because it was written in the script, so I could just keep doing it. It's 14 times, which is nice.
Fun,
Have some of that.
So the big difference with the interiors was we didn't have that hard wrap time.
Yeah.
And they just became very long days to get it all done. Not that we cared, because we were just loving it by that point. Khan's house was a big thing because
I think it was my favourite set.
Yeah, I think it was everyone's favourite set.
Amanda started dressing it with hay and leaves and things, and it was a really, really cool house, and then she dressed it with fur and just so many knickknacks everywhere, and there was just so much stuff in it by the end. It was incredible.
Neil and Squish then lit it, and then I came back in, and it was just like
magic.
Sort of, it was exactly
absolute magic.
It was like Christmas Day.
There was a moment for me when you were filming in Khan's house for the first time. You see Sophie as Ren at the table, drawing in a little book, and then there's you with your fish. I think they had names. Bob and
twins.
Bob, right? Bob and Bob.
Yeah.
And then just to sit back and watch this play out, that was special for me.
I also have quite a lot of affection for the guard room.
Oh gosh, yes.
The guard room
was fantastic.
Yeah, it was the transformation because it was the same the same flats as Ren's bedroom in the same space, and we had to transform it. In a really short amount of time. I think it was a day, wasn't it? We had to turn it from Ren's bedroom into the guard's room while they were shooting in Khan's house, which was on in the room next door. So it was trying to completely redo it in silence. Was amazing. A spectacular challenge. I really enjoyed that. So you sort of hammer for 30 seconds and it'd be quiet on set, and you think, okay, go.
Remember, it's a lovely hot summer's day and the sun is not over there. Oh. Jesus, it is bitter today.
Everybody was so cold, and it was do a take, warm everyone up. We were warming ourselves by the lights. I remember Becca and I trying to just keep warm. Freezing.
Where's the go? Well, you know, we got to the end of the shoot, and it does wear you down, you know, so physically, mentally, and, you know. So even though you're having fun and you're doing great work, you just gradually you just start running out. You know, the tank is empty by the time you have the last couple of weeks. But because there was still a lot to do, and because of the stuff that was there to be done was quite exciting. There was, you know, arrows, you know, fire arrows being shot.
We were trying to create this sequence where the Kanath archers are lined up and they all are shooting down the length of the village. Now, I think we had one of the 12 who'd ever used a bow and arrow before.
Okay, cut!
They'd shoot their bows and Kate would shout, cut, and everybody would cheer, and then we'd all dash off into the dark to try and find the bits of burning arrow that were flying around the car park.
Those scenes were some of the slowest pace that we ever worked, because they were the last nights and we didn't want it to end.
Yeah.
Slightly too charred.
Tony the Phony Pony came about because the horse that we were going to use for Hunter and Ren at the very end of the shoot turned out not to be that used to a camera, not used to a lot of people running around in the dark, not used to a lot of fire, not used to really people riding on the horse, which was a bit of a problem.
Did you actually sit on the real horse?
No, but the real horse liked me. It didn't like you. I think it maybe had a bit of a
It certainly
feminist
didn't like
favoritism thing going on.
It certainly didn't like me. And Kate was terrified that it was going to dump me on the concrete head first.
Kate came into me and said, we need another solution for a horse. What do you think you can come up with? And I went, oh, I have no idea. I don't know. What? She said, well, go and have a look in the warehouse and see what's there.
No, I remember came in one morning and found you two looking very pleased with yourselves with this enormous rocking thing covered in pony skin.
Yeah.
I said, what the hell have you done? what are you doing?
What?
It kind of works surprisingly well, I promise you.
My favourite bit of that was with the twigs that they kind of just went like that past us.
Kate said, well, it needs to look like it's going a bit faster than that, so can you guys grab some branches and just run past in the background like this?
That's going to be awesome! It's more of a death, I think, than a...
That was Sophie doing that.
You did that. Sophie didn't do anything. Up and down and up and down. Yeah. Do you want a cushion?
No, I don't need a cushion. Do you want your hemorrhoid cream? You mean your hemorrhoid cream? Do you want my hemorrhoid cream?
I found Tony the Phony Pony very well behaved.
Until he broke.
Stop!
It was fine when I was on there. I think as soon as you climbed on, then it broke.
Of course, yeah. My lead-based body. That's what happened.
Loose!
5, 4, 2, take 1 on the end.
That's a wrap!
I was exhausted. I don't know, but I think Kate was energized.
I didn't really want it to end. Maybe have a break for a moment or something, but Some of us we just wanted to go straight into second season, really. We're just like, this is great space, this is amazing, you know, we can work here, there's so many things that we could do if we could keep that space.
We had to be out of the Caxton place, or that would have cost us another £2,000 that we didn't have because we were already going over budget and stuff.
Some motivation for you.
Yeah.
As a creative person, who's, you know, very hands-on, you have to then hand over to editorial people who are continuing the creative process, but
out of your hands.
the baby then is passed on to someone else. That's a bit,
Take good care of it.
Exactly, it goes somewhere else.
It was just really gutting seeing some of the things dismantled and burnt, or people just coming and taking things away. And
it sucked, really, because we had such a good time. And I think by that stage we'd all got to the stage, because was it 2-3 months that we'd all together?
I think we'd finally fallen into a pattern of it as well.
Yeah, we'd finally become somewhat more of a family and all the rest of it.
The Wren family that we had created was going to split up and go back to their normal lives, and the sort of the crazy student house that was Wren Studios in a way, where sort of such amazing creativity had happened, but also such amazing sort of fun and sort of bonding with people and things and friendships and things would stop, was not something I wanted to happen at all. Not at all.
It was sort of the first real film shoot of any kind that I've been on, and it was such an amazing experience. It's quite a sort of defining chapter in my life, which sounds really, really cheesy, but I think it's true. And it was such a grand scale, there's such imagination and such passion, and everybody has such an amazing image of where they wanted the series to go, and to sort of see that all coming to an end and walk away, and it's really, really quite hard. But
yes,
everyone was really admired and respected and was inspired by what everyone else was doing, and sort of really motivated to do their best, I think. Except for you.
Oh yeah, except for me. Yeah, Skyrim.
Everyone was there because they genuinely believed in it. It was just a labour of love for everybody.
You feel very useful because you know you're actually contributing, and at the end of it there's going to be this web series that you know that you'll have helped create, even if all you do is sit there, watch it and see an extra in the background and go, oh, I used to fix his belt all the time, I helped.
It was really, really fun, and I really learned so much about what can be done with actually not that much money. Some amazingly talented people, of course.
Yeah.
Looking to the future, it's been great so far, and I can only see it, you know, continuing to be as good.
My hopes for Wren is that the first season, when it comes out, is going to turn a lot of heads. I want people to go, wow, and then hopefully we can do another couple of seasons.
And bigger budget, so we can do cooler stuff.
TV series. That's the hope. TV series, and hopefully, if everyone's available, same people together.
Fingers crossed for season 2.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
It was a web series. I enjoyed it.